Hello and welcome back to Ancorton Models TV, and today I'm going to show you how to build the Market Barrows kit in 00 gauge from Ancorton Models. So let's get started. Right then, let's see what we have in the actual pack then. Now this kit will make up 4 Market Barrows, 2 of each type, so I'm going to just make up 1 of each type on the video for you, because there's no point in you watching it 2-3 times. So we've got 2 canopies for 2 of the barrows. We've got a big fret with all the laser cut parts on. It is a laser cut wood kit, so all the parts we need are located on here, and they are numbered as well. So we got that, and we have a full single sheet of instructions, which obviously I'll read through as we go through it, and obviously then we've got the main picture, so it will say this is what it should be aiming to look at the end. So I think first of all I'm just going to have a quick scan through the instructions, and then I'll probably make up let's do the one with the actual canopy on. I'll make up one with the canopy and then one without the canopy. I'm feeling they're going to go together very similar, but just for the sake of the video I will make up both of them. Okay, so I'll just have a quick scan through and we'll get stuck into it. Okay, so having just made a quick read through the instructions, which is always a very important thing to do with any kit that you make up. If it's got instructions, read through it. It makes life a lot easier, it gives you a better understanding of what you're aiming to do. So having read that, I'm actually going to build up one without the canopy first, because that is basically how the instructions lay it out, because right at the bottom here it gives you the variations for the ones with the canopy and the different component parts which go together to make those. So I'll make up the standard one first, and to get started it says, because it's a laser cut kit, there will be little tabs on the parts which you just need to cut through with a sharp craft knife. And so the first parts we need is actually parts 7, 8 and 4. So let's quickly pop those out. Just got to go around, find where the little tabs are and just very carefully cut through them. That's part 7 and part 8. Pick that up, there we are. Part 7 and part 8. Right, now then, it suggests that we use a relatively tacky glue to put these all together. So the glue that I'm going to use is the Rocket card glue from the Deluxe Materials range, which we do also stock in the shop. It does do really well for laser cut kits, for wood and obviously for card kits as well, and it's just a really nice glue to handle, and the fact that it's got this, you can have this long nozzle attachment to give a finer point for where the glue goes, makes this so much easier. So the first task is to stick the sides to the base. Make sure you have the base the right way up, i.e. with the wooden slats pointing at the top. It's probably a very simple but easy little mistake that pretty much anybody could make, so it's just one to watch out for, and if needs be just do yourself a little dry run first to make sure that the parts do fit together as you want them to, and so that you know exactly where the parts are going to go. So just put a little bit of glue on there. So you don't need a lot of glue, you just need a little bit, and then we just swap that on like so. Now I've got to try and make sure that we keep the angle between the base of the cart and the sides at 90 degrees as best as possible. If you have something like a little set square, you could use that. I'm just going to do it by eye and just hold it just while the glue goes off a little bit. And now that's sort of gone off. I'm just going to glue up the other side. And making sure again that I get the side piece the right way round. Glue that in place there. So just hold that together. Now it does feel a little bit wobbly, but that's because the glue's not fully gone off just yet. But that's okay. So what I'm going to do is just going to put that to one side for the glue to go off. Just try and straighten it a bit. I'll also read through the next part of the instructions, which is probably going to be to cut out more parts, so I can cut them out whilst we let you know those bits dry. So, now, the next stage is to glue the barrow edge, the handle end, into place, which is part 3 off the fret. Make sure that it sits on top of the base and inside the side pieces, as shown by the green arrows in the photo on the instruction sheet. And then do the same with the wheel end, which is part 6, making sure that it sits flush to the end of the base, as shown by the red arrow in figure 3 as well. So there's parts 3 and 6. Let's give them a quick cut through with the knife, and yep, that'll get left behind. So part 6 is longer and a bit thicker. Part 3 is shorter and a little bit narrower. So it makes it a little bit easier once you've cut them out to see which part was which and for where they need to go. And now that's got a little bit of strength in the main barrow. So let's just reread that again. Glue the barrow edge handle end into place, which is part 3, making sure that it sits on top of the base and inside the side pieces. So we don't want it to go on the end, we want it to go on the top at the end. So I'm just going to pop a quick dab of glue on the top edge there for it to sit in, and because that's quite small, I'm just going to grab my little pliers. So I think they're going to make it a little bit easier to get in, because it is quite fiddly. And just see if we can just squeeze that in there. Yep, that's in the glue. That's looking pretty good. So hopefully, if I look to the camera now, it might focus in enough. You should be able to see that we've got the end piece on here, in between the two side pieces, like so. So the next one is to put the end piece on, which does literally go on the end. So let's get that done. And again, I think I'm going to have to leave this a little bit longer just to allow the glue to go off again. And again, I'm just going to use my little pliers there. Trying to do things one-handed is never a good sign. There we go. Right, so now that goes on the end like so, and just line it up and press it in, and once you've got it in position, just let it settle for a minute just while the glue grabs it, so that'll make it a lot easier. I think that's got it now, so I'm just going to very carefully just put that to one side. Obviously we don't want it to all fall apart, which it could still do because the glue is, although it's relatively quick drying and quick grabbing, it does need a little bit of time to go off, so just be aware of that. Right, so the next part is to glue the axle, which is actually part 1, to the axle supports as shown in figure 4, and attach the wheels, part 2, as shown in figure 5, and then just put it all to one side to go off. So the axles are part 1, which is right at the top, typically actually above the wheels. So I'm going to cut out the axle and 2 of the wheels, ready to see about them going on. So that's an axle, which is very fine, and being very careful to get the wheels because they are very, very fine and delicate, as you will see if you've bought this kit. And trying to cut carefully on a bend is a little bit awkward, so I'm just nibbling the fret a bit there to get it out. So okay, so what I'm going to do before I attach the axle to the actual cart, I'm just going to see that the wheels do go on to the axle, because the last thing we want is it to be really awkward to get the wheels on. Once we've got the axle on, we can't really make many changes, and just tried both of them there, and the square hole in the wheel does go onto the axle, so that's a good thing. Right, so on to sticking it together. Now then, the axle supports are the rear little triangle pieces, which you should be able to see here. That's them there. So the axle obviously goes across from side to side. Make sure you leave enough on each side so that there's enough hanging over for the wheels to go on when you glue this on, because the last thing you want really is to have a big peg sticking out of your wheel on one side and your wheel on the other side not even being able to get on in situ. So I think I've got that more or less in the middle, he says, as he just nudges it. So I'm just going to let that settle for a minute, just to give the glue a bit of a chance to grab the axle, because there's not a lot of glue on it, because it's a very small attachment area, so it is going to be a very delicate part, so that is definitely something to watch out for. And once the glue has gone off, we'll attach the wheels, and that should be that cart made up. It's worthwhile also saying don't be tempted to add a ton of extra glue on it either, because that will just not necessarily it'll just make it longer for the glue to go off. Doesn't always help. Some people think it does, but through my experience it never has done. So let's see about gluing the wheels on, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to glue the back side of the wheel right in the hub area, right in the middle of it, and then bring the wheel to the axle and just press it on, and then do the same with the other side. by putting the glue over the hole in the middle of wheel, when you press it onto the axle, it will push the glue through the hole, so it goes all the way through the pieces of wood. So hopefully you'll be able to see there that we've now got both wheels on, and that is actually this cart complete. So I'm going to put that to one side now, and we'll start having a look at building up one of the carts with the little canopy frames on as well. Right, so to make up one of the ones with the canopy top, reading the instructions at the bottom, it does say we need substitute parts, which are in the fret, so don't worry, they are in the kit for you. And it basically starts out exactly the same as the other one. So we need part 4, which is the base. So let's get part 4 out. So that's our part 4. And then for the side pieces, we need to substitute number 11 for part 7 and 12 for part 8, and those are located down this side here. So let's take part 11 and part 12. So let's get those out of there. And exactly the same as the other side, the other cart, just check that it fits together first of all, which that seems to, and then just glue up the sides as we did before. This is actually a very, very simple and very nice kit to make up. I've actually really enjoyed myself making this kit up. Let's get the right part on the right side, shall we? Yes, that way around. Come on. There we go. So that's one side. And then the same with the other. Like so. Right, so let's just leave those to dry for a minute. Right, so that would be the first part of building the kit up. Right, so do we need to substitute other parts? So the other parts we need to substitute is part 9 for part 6 and part 10 for part 3. Now if you remember, part 6, just quickly reading back, was for the wheel end and part 3 was for the handle end. So part 3 is now part 10. So let's have one of those out of there, which again is quite a fine little fret on there. And watch out for extra little bits on there to hold it together. So that's for the handle end, and then part 9 is for the other end because it's a little bit bigger. So put that at that end just to remind me of where we're aiming to put them. So, okay, right, so let's put the part 10 in at the handle end. is a little bit fiddly. In fact, it's very fiddly. I'm just going to hold that in place for a minute just to allow the glue to sort of grab it enough so that it can sort of support itself. And then I'll stick the end on. There's not a lot really holding that in place at all. It keeps tipping over a little bit. So there you go, that actually seems to fit better that way. So what I've done is I've just deviated from the instructions slightly and put the end, the handle end, in actually on the end rather than on the top. So it just seems to sit in better in the top bridge piece there, seems to line up with all the other bits. So I'm hoping that's going to be a bit of a stronger joint on there. So let's glue up the other side for the other end piece, and we'll then have the makings of our canopy there. Like so. That's one of those, I guess, if you wanted, once the tackiness of the glue has gone off, if you wanted to run a small bead of glue just around the inside of the market barrow, then there's no reason why you couldn't. Although once you get around to painting it, you may prefer to fit the paint, and the paint will actually help hold it in place anyway. That's entirely your choice. So right, that's those two on there, so let's leave that to one side for a minute. Right, okay, so glue the canopy support, which is part 5, into place and just leave it aside to cure. So obviously part 5 is a new part, we've not used it before, and it is one of these here. So this is going to brace across from the top of each of the main support pieces. So it's going to form like the ridge of the roof. That's a very, very thin piece of wood on there. So I'm just going to grab that with my tweezers so you can just about see there. It's like a little, tiny little matchstick. So what we'll do with this is put some glue on the ends. Once I'm happy that it goes in the gap, which it does with ease, so we can do some adjustments there to pull it together. And I have a feeling this is going to be one of the things which is going to get a lot of people struggling with, because it's very fiddly, there's not a lot to hold it in place, so it has the potential to cause a lot of stress, but don't get stressed about it, just go with it. So, like I said, it is fiddly. It is very fiddly. And I think I've just about got it. Yeah, I think it's just about on there, but I'm not sure if the end piece has just come off because it wasn't quite dry enough. So I'll just leave that to one side for a minute to settle itself while I cut out the axle and the wheels ready to go on. Now it may be that I need to wait a little bit longer for the glue to go off on this before we attach the wheels, but they attach in exactly the same way as they did for the other cart, so I don't necessarily need to show you that. So we'll cut this video about here and we'll see you once it's all completed. Right, so we've now got our cart with the hood frame made up, so the last thing to do to finish this cart is going to be to put one of the actual canopies on. Now it's really easy to do these because they've already been cut out for you with little zigzag patterns on the bottom of them. So all you need to do is actually fold them in the right place. Now to actually fold it as squarely as we can, what we're going to do is just mark out where the middle is lengthwise at each end of it, on the underside of it, which is the blank side. And once we've got that mark, we're then going to put our rule across, a steel rule, ruler, whichever you've got. And then instead of using a sharp side of the knife, I'm actually going to use the blunt side of the knife. But you could use a pair of scissors, and we're just going to very gently just score the back side of it. I'm just going over it twice because we don't want to cut through it, we just want to score it, because then we can fold it nice and neatly in half. And then we're going to then do the same just inside where the little cutouts are for the cornery pieces on the edge, to then get the bit which folds over the very end. I'm just going to do exactly the same. I'm going to do this by eye, but you want about 2 mil or so visible, and then just give it a quick score, and then the same the other side. Like so. And what it does, like I say, it makes it easier to fold over that nice edge. If you wanted to be more accurate with this, you probably could be, but that's now made the canopy really nice to be able to sit on the top of our market stall, like so. Now I'm not going to glue the canopies on just yet, because I want to be able to paint the whole cart first, and then once it's painted and the paint has dried, then I will glue the canopies on to the tops. But for the sake and purpose of this video, that is how to build them up. Now, they are a fiddly kit. The ones with the canopy roofs are more fiddly than the ones without, so if you're relatively new to laser kit kits, then I would certainly start with the open top ones rather than the covered ones first. Get yourself into it, see how it goes together, and then move on to doing the covered ones afterwards. But there we are. It is a nice kit. It is a bit fiddly, but it has gone together really well. So that will do us. So there we are. That's how to put together the little market stalls. These just need a layer of paint on them now, and obviously the ones with the covered tops, they'll want their their canopies put in on as well. But like I said, they're a lovely kit, but they are a little bit fiddly. So if it's your first laser cut kit, don't be put off by it if you struggle. And I would recommend starting with the canopy-less ones, the ones without the canopy. I'd recommend starting with those. So they're going to be obviously ideal for any market scene which you're perhaps doing on your layout, and you could put in them anything perhaps from the fruit and veg range that we got, so the cabbages, broccoli, cauliflowers, leeks, turnips, all those kind of things could quite happily be put on those, or anything else that you could even put together yourself. So anyway, I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Also, do please hit that subscribe button as well, because we've got plenty more how to make it videos on the way, as well as obviously updates of the latest bits of stock coming in from our many different UK based suppliers. So until next time, happy modelling!